going, folks? It's Danny here from the Smell Me Helmet podcast. We're doing a special Mortal Kombat the movie 2021 movie review for the podcast, and yeah, I just want to address something though, just because we didn't do an episode of the podcast. We didn't release an episode the weekend because of professional reasons, conflicting work schedules and the like. We could make it work, it just wouldn't have worked for us, so we just didn't put an episode out. So I thought I'd just address it here. So it'll be business as usual this weekend as always. But first things first, Mortal Kombat the movie 2021. I watched it for the first time Friday. I got the chance to watch it, even though it wasn't officially released over here. I got the chance to have a butcher's hook at it there, have a look. I have friends in high places, low places, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, just I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. Now, there's a it's a bit of a mixed bag, but the numbers don't lie. I think it did as much numbers in its first 3 days than King Kong versus Godzilla, or Godzilla versus King Kong, whatever it's called, did in its first 5 days. So, and we all know how big that film was. So that's usually a good sign, because I know Warner Brothers will definitely take that as a good sign, and hopefully they'll give them more funding and have a bigger budget for the eventual sequel, and there will be a sequel. Also, spoiler alert, in case you haven't noticed, I'm actually going to be putting as well in the description, big spoiler alert in place for Mortal Kombat 2021. And so if you hadn't seen it by now, even though it's not officially released, spoilers everywhere online. So I'm going to put big spoiler alert in the description, and if you don't want to listen to this, don't listen to it till you've watched it, because I'm not going to be one to be an old spoiler. That's not what I do. But yeah, we'll address the first scene, the opening scene, the absolutely epic opening scene between Hanzo Hasashi and Bihan, aka Scorpion, and Sub-Zero, respectively. Loved it, absolutely loved it. I love the fact that the like in this film as well, I love the fact that they spoke in each other's mother tongues, and it was obviously subtitled and whatnot like. But and it was real. Yeah, even though after Sub-Zero killed Scorpion's his wife and his child, and even though there was a little wrench in the works thrown in for Bihan or Shang Tsung, which we would eventually go on to find out was part of a bigger plan, because from what I gathered, Hanzo Hasashi was one of Earth's champions, and obviously he was a bigger threat, so they needed to eliminate him and his clan, and obviously the Shira Ryu clan. So let's take some of this water there for a second. But yeah, epic fight scene. Obviously, as somebody who is very family orientated, I got it when Scorpion, Hanzo Hasashi, discovered his wife and child frozen, and this was after he was sent to get 2 buckets of water, which was a nice little nod to the '95 film. Although if he hadn't spilled that water, he could have, that was the what you call it, the ice water, not the ice water, the buckets of water is Sub-Zero's, what's that Superman fucking kryptonite. That's the one. It's like Sub-Zero's kryptonite. Well, that's what the fans would tell you, like myself anyway would tell you, but obviously it's a different Mortal Kombat film, so that's not to say that that would work, but it was a nice little nod nonetheless. But yeah, after obviously Hanzo gets back, discovers his wife and child frozen, and just goes straight beast mode. Takes out all of Bihan's men, single handedly. Oh, it was beautiful. And then obviously the use of the chain and the kunai, which was actually like a guard until, initially that his wife was using early in the film, early on the scene, I should say. And yeah, it was just it was the choreography. It was just it's off the pun intended, off the chain. But yeah, the, the then obviously Sub-Zero gets the better of him and kills him, and he disappears in fire. And because obviously I'd say the deal was going to take his soul, and obviously as we know from the story, even though there was no mention of Quan Chi, at all. But don't be surprised if he turns up in the second one. I'm just saying, I'm calling it now. But what you call it? Yeah, we have anyway. Fast forward so many hundreds of years. I think it's it was 17th century Japan. So that when it was in 1617. So we're talking 404 years later. If we're talking exactly present day, like 2021 or 2020. So 403, 404 years ago, give or take, whatever the case is. But yeah, you have this unknown character, Cole Young, making an appearance. Now, when I heard initially the actual plot of the story first, I was skeptical. I'm not gonna lie, I was quite skeptical, and I was just like, is this just like, is this just throwing someone in for the sake of throwing someone in, just to change it up or whatever, But the more I seen of it in the build up after the trailer and all that stuff, and then obviously the speculation started. There's a connection to one of the, the original characters of Mortal Kombat, and the speculation started. Was he to do with Sub-Zero? Was he to do with Scorpion? Blah blah blah. But I think there was little as the the actual opening date kind of went forward, like it came nearer, I should say. It was. I'm not gonna lie, I had Scorpion on my mind coming up to it, but I just thinking the way it was done was epic, though. I think it was epic, the way it was done, the way they kind of put it together, because obviously the whole idea of obviously it was Shang Tsung who ordered Sub-Zero to get rid of Scorpion because he was a big threat, and obviously to eliminate his bloodline as well, so nobody could come back and seek any sort of revenge or whatever the case was. And obviously, as we know, spoiler alert, obviously, Cole Young is well, I should say, Hanzo Hasashi is Cole Young's ancestor. So, Jesus, great, however many great grandfather. But yeah, because initially Cole Young is an orphan from Chicago, and I thought it was cool, and also I thought it was good little nod as well that he said Chicago, because obviously, as we know, the original Midway Studios was based in Chicago as well. So it's a nice little nod. There's a lot of fan service in this film. There's a lot of fan service, and my inner 10-year-old is quite pleased. Is quite pleased now, I have to say. But the movie critic in me, there was a few kind of scenes that felt rushed. I felt there was a few scenes that felt rushed, and Cole Young wouldn't be winning any Academy Awards, put it that way. But then again, neither did Sylvester Stallone or Arnold Schwarzenegger, because they're not going to be or not to be. That is the question. It's all about the action. Obviously, a different type of action, as in Lewis Tan, martial arts action. I never watched it now, but I heard of it, Wu Assassins, and I seen pictures of kind of still pictures of Lewis Tan and kind of short clips and stuff, and I was like, oh, that looks good. And then when I seen, as I said, the trailer, the Mortal Kombat trailer first, I was like, oh, that's your man. The clips I seen of Wu Assassins and stuff, and then obviously a few days ago I only copped as well. He was in Deadpool 2. He was a part of the ill-fated X-Force that didn't last very long. They only lasted a parachute jump. But Yeah, Cole Young, the character. I think it was good to drive the plot forward, drive the narrative forward. Like, and as well, I feel it was a good way of kind of utilizing his character, because as he's discovering new things and discovering this whole new world, so is the audience, as in the non-gamers, the ones that have never played a single Mortal Kombat game in their life, who are just watching this as a standalone martial arts, action, fantasy, sci-fi, interdimensional, whatever you want to call it, film. If you want to put it into kind of film genres, like there's a few different genres in there, but primarily this film had a very kind of Asian feel, which I thought was cool, because obviously, Mortal Kombat, the lore is, it's some of it is based on like actual kind of Asian law, Japanese, Chinese kind of lore. Like, I know I read something there was an actual band of ninja assassins called the Lin Kuei. Obviously, they're not cryomancers that shoot ice out their hands and freeze people or whatever. Like, but that's where the idea came from. But I have to say now, I thoroughly enjoyed it though. Like, it wasn't excellent. It was great. It was a great film. It wasn't an excellent film, like action film. But I do feel with a bigger budget and more character development, and let's not have it be as rushed, especially in that second act, because before I knew it, in the second act, it was like, what I mean by second act is, after they were quote unquote defeated, and I think it was after Kano turned on them, they had to kind of flee, retreat. They had to retreat, like, and Raiden brought them into the void, and it was kind of from that part of the void onwards, it kind of felt rushed. I think it could have been paced a bit slower. But I do know, I think the film was like an hour and 50 minutes, so it's just under 2 hours. And I know a shit ton of it from what I'd seen from the various cast members online. Whether it be Lewis Tan, Mikad Brooks, Joe Taslim, what's her name, Jessica McNamee, who played Sonya as well. I seen it from a few of them there. Yeah, there was a lot of the kind of fight scenes that were cut out. So I'm hoping down the line, when they do eventually release a Blu-ray release, they'll have like a special edition, or even a director's cut. That would be cool, actually, like a special Simon McQuaid, I can't pronounce that surname, director's cut, like, I just think it'd be super cool. But I was gonna say, do you know what? I'm on the fence about Raiden. Now, I love the fact that they made him Asian. Like, they made him, like, of Chinese or Asian descent, or Japanese, whatever. I love the fact that they made him of Asian descent, but I don't know. He just now maybe it's just a little nod to later in the games, when later in the game storyline, where Raiden gets a bit more harsher, and maybe that's a little nod. But I thought he came across, in some of the things he came across quite blunt. But then again, he's no time to be pussyfooting around when it's the fate of the people of Earth that's at stake. So there's no time for niceties, I suppose. But what's it? Just give me 1 second there. Gonna have a look at my notes there. Oh yeah, Liu Lin as Liu Kang. Liu Lin as Liu Kang. Now obviously this, I will say, if you're gonna compare the Liu Kang to Robin Shou's Liu Kang from the '95 movie, you're gonna be disappointed. And I've seen a lot of people are like, "Oh, he's not like Robin Shou, blah blah blah." I'm like, yeah, it's called character development. Obviously, with the death of his cousin Kung Lao in the film at the hands of Shang Tsung, he stole his soul. This is obviously a part of Liu Kang's character development, because if you think about it, this one's it's almost like a type of pre-tournament, a type of prequel, nearly almost. So we're kind of seeing Liu Kang in this, in his kind of early character development. So I think in the second one you're going to see that, what I would call the Liu Kang of old. I'm not saying he wasn't a strong fighter in this, but we know he can do a lot more because of what we've seen in the games and stuff. So he's definitely, I think he's still a bit rough around the edges, the character that is, but there's still more room for improvement in terms of the story, the script, I should say. Chin Han as Shang Tsung, I thought he nailed it. To be honest, I thought he nailed it. Now he's watch out. It's the man that played Shang Tsung in the '95 film, Kerry Noriyuki Tagawa, not to be confused with Hiroyuki. That's Hiroyuki Sanada. It's similar spelling, except there's an H and an N respectively in each other's names. Kerry Noriyuki Tagawa will always be Shang Tsung in my book, 100%. He kind of comes across with that air of arrogant regalness. I'm so much better than you. I know Chin Han Shang Tsung was exactly the same, like saying to Kung Lao, you are beneath me, and that's when he sent in the Tara, but then she got like a splitting headache courtesy of Kung Lao's lovely hat, bladed hat of his, and as well the fatalities in this as well was spot on. A lot of fan service. They gave us what we wanted, so for that I thank you very much. But just back to Chin Han there, yeah. I think he did a great job. He was in, I think it was Batman, The Dark Knight or The Dark Knight Rises. I can't remember which one it was, but I know he's in one of them. But yeah, Hiroyuki Sanada there, Hanzo Asashi. Obviously, as we know, Hiroyuki Sanada is just he's been around the way. He's been around the way. 3 films I know him from, although one of them quite brief. I don't even think he has a speaking scene. It was just at the start of Avengers Endgame, when Hawkeye, but in his Ronin character, what's her name, not Scarlet Witch, Black Widow was looking for him, and she came across him in what looked like Tokyo, Japan. I had all the neon lights and stuff, so I'm just gonna say Tokyo, Japan anyway. But yeah, it was just kind of brief little fight scene with Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye and that Ronin Hawkeye, whatever he was calling himself in it, because I know he was all decked out in different gear, very kind of samurai Asian style gear, and obviously he had blades rather than bow and arrow and stuff. But yeah, obviously seen him in that, seen him in Rush Hour 3. He was the antagonist in that Rush Hour 3, and also the Wolverine as well. Also played the antagonist, so it was very. I don't want to say. I think saying it's very strange is a harsh word to use. I'll just say it was strange to see him in such a, kind of protagonist type role. Although, as we know from the game, Scorpion is more of a type of anti-hero, wild card sort of thing. You don't know, is he good, is he bad? What's the story there? So he's kind of like anti-hero. He's kind of like Mortal Kombat's answer to Stone Cold Steve Austin, the anti-hero hero, if you want to call him. But I thought he did a phenomenal job. He brought a very Hiroyuki Sanada brought an air of realism, gritty realism to it, because he's in a comedy. He's a sensei, he's Sensei Hiroyuki Sanada. Well versed in martial arts. He knows his way around a few samurai swords, katana swords. Let me tell you, he knows his stuff. And I'd like to point out as well, he's the elder statesman of the group. He's kind of like the dad of the cast. I'm just gonna have a quick look at his Wikipedia. He's age 60. Hiroyuki Shimasawa Sanada. Age 60, Shingawa, Tokyo, Japan. Jesus, he's been around the way, ladies and gentlemen. He's been around the way. He made his first major Hollywood appearance in The Last Samurai. Jesus, so he's doing loads of other stuff as well. I'm telling you, I'm definitely gonna look into a lot of his other stuff. Oh yeah, and I forgot as well, when I seen the trailer for Army of the Dead as well, he's in that, because he makes Dave Bautista's character an offer he can't refuse about the heist. So yeah, I forgot about that as well. But that's another film I'm actually looking forward as well this year, Army of the Dead, and I'll also do a review on that too. But just reel it back in there real quick. Yeah, just Hiroyuki Sanada there. Very impressed with him. Very impressed indeed. Um, Josh Lawson as Kano. Well, I never, to be honest with you, I'm not going to lie and say, oh yeah, I heard of Josh Lawson before this, because I didn't. Had a clue who he was. But me and everyone else definitely will know who he is now, let me tell you, because my God, he did a phenomenal job. He did a absolute phenomenal job. He did. Because now when I say this, I'm not talking about the absolute scumbag side where he'll cut your throat for a few quid, more than a few quid, you know, for a lot of money. But you know, he'll backstab you, you know, at the turn of a dime, at the turn of a hat there, at the turn of Kung Lao's hat, I should say. But yeah, Josh Lawson as Kano, he just hit it out of the park, 100%. And you know yourself, we all have that mate, you know, that just can't help himself, that always has something smart to say, but it's absolutely fucking hilarious. You know, just hits the nail on the head. You know, just has the perfect thing to say, and that cracks everyone up. Like, you know, if you don't know who that mate is, it's more than likely you. But yeah, no, Josh Lawson hit out the park with Kano. Loved all the one-liners, all the above. Joe Taslim, obviously, Bihan, Sub-Zero. We know him from the Raid films. He's no stranger to this. I've seen him on Scott Adkins' Art of Action podcast there as well. Again, it's gas, right? To hear the other actors in the film talk about him, like the filmmakers, you know, the choreographers and stuff, had to tell him to slow down. He was going too fast. Now, as Michael Brooks said in an interview about Joe Taslim, there's only two people in movie history that have been told to slow down: Joe Taslim and Bruce Lee. Just saying. Also, Joe Taslim is an absolute, what's the word I'm looking for? He's an absolute gamer in the sense of a Mortal Kombat gamer. Yeah, not only is he good in real life, but he will legit kick your ass at the game. And the lads, what's his name? Michael Brooks and Lewis Tan will attest to this. And what's it call it? What your man that played Raiden? I'm gonna try and pronounce his name here. Tadanobu Asano. As I said, I know I mentioned Raiden earlier, but I just I don't know how I feel about Raiden. Like, I love the fact that they made him Asian because, you know, in terms of lore and stuff. But I don't know. There's something missing. There's something missing. I just can't put my finger on it. I can't put my finger on it at all. But yeah, I'll just Michael Brooks as Jax though. I think he nailed it as well. Again, before this, never heard of him. Never heard of him before, but I guarantee you, we're going to be hearing a lot from this cast in other movies after this, and I'm definitely a fan of the majority of them. Trying to think, is there anyone else? See, I don't want to leave anyone out. Oh, Nathan Jones, obviously, Jesus. Nathan Jones is Reiko. One little nitpick. It's nothing, and it's nothing to do with Nathan Jones, by the way. And it's not the fact that he's bigger than me, could probably legit crush me skull. But I just feel he was wasted as Reiko. You know, for somebody of that size, you know how absolute of a monstrosity Nathan Jones is. Obviously, well, you know, with his brief foray in WWE back in the day, and then obviously in other films he was in. He was Rictus Erectus in Mad Max Fury Road as well, which I thought was my humble opinion anyway, was a bigger role for him because he got like more of a speaking part, you know. But I think that kind of worked in the narrative of the film because it was obviously set in Australia, and you know he's Australian himself. So, but obviously Kano was the only Australian that was talking in his native accent. Not native tongue, native accent. But I just thought Nathan Jones would have been great as Shao Kahn, to be honest with you, because you know absolute size of him. But then again, you know, speaking roles and stuff like that, you know. But I mean, there's ways around that, you know, technology. You know, I mean, you know, I just felt he was wasted his Rigo, whatever you want to call him, tomato. But other than that though, I thought he looked great. I thought he looked excellent. You know, I just thought he was wiped out a bit too soon. Like, it was really like, oh, that's it. Like, you know, like I know Jax, you know, got his power back and he got his, you know, his mechanical arms, you know, upgraded because of his, you know, his superpowers or his arcana that each character had to unlock, which will actually something else I actually want to talk about as well. Their arcana. I thought it was a great little kind of plot device because obviously, as we know, in the original game, you know, the 1992 game, that was, even though I didn't play it till '93 because it didn't come out over here till then, in Dublin, Ireland at the time. You know, there was no explanation why Sonya, who's in the special forces, can shoot purple rings out of her hands. There was no explanation. Why can, you know, Sub-Zero just magically, you know, shoot ice balls out of his hands? You know, Liu Kang with his fireball, so on and so forth. You get the picture. You know, there was no explanation. It was just like, these are characters, they have special moves. Same with Street Fighter as well, but that's different. That's, you know, whatever. But you get the idea. But I love the fact that he kind of had it in a somewhat, the way it was done, it kind of made sense from a fantasy standpoint, because obviously it's not going to actually happen in real life, but you know, it's kind of part of your soul, like, you know, what burns in your soul type of thing, you know, what makes you tick, you know what I mean, what kind of gets you up, you know. Obviously each one is different, you know. Jax, you know, his strength, his inner strength, that type of thing, you know. And I just thought the way it was done was cool, but they had to find out their arcana. But the only way they could find their arcana is if they had the birthmark, or well, not that. The only one that had the birthmark was Cole Young, Lewis Tan's character, Cole Young. He was the only one that had it from birth, obviously because of his lineage with Hanzo Hasashi, Scorpion, and the rest got theirs because they because they killed someone who had it, and you know, so on and so forth. But I thought it was cool, the fact that, you know, the only way that you could unlock it was if you had the symbol on you, the mark on you, you know, the mark of the Mortal Kombat dragon type of thing. But yeah, no, I do feel that the second part was rushed. There were certain scenes though. One scene in particular, one of the very last scenes, where Shang Tsung and Raiden have a face off, and I thought you were gonna go at it. I was like, they are here. The lad's gonna go out of here because I thought, you know, because at the time I was thinking, jeez, I thought, you know, the old 2-on-1 handicap match with Cole Young Scorpion against Sub-Zero in the cage, in the cage of death. I thought at the time I was thinking, jeez, I thought that was the final match, but then I was like, are these lads gonna fight? And then you just, you know, they have their exchange. They had a brief conversation, and Raiden, you know, blasts them back to Outworld, and you know, all the above. But I'm trying to think. Although yeah, I love the Easter eggs, the nods to the games. As I said earlier, a lot of fan service. As I said, my inner 10-year-old absolutely fucking loved it. I'm trying to think, is there anything else? See, I don't want to go off this now and be like, oh, I should have talked about this, you should have talked about that, because, you know, there's nothing worse when that happens. There's nothing worse. Ricard Brooks. Yeah, Sissy Stringer actually. Sissy Stringer as Melina. I just like, don't get me wrong, I thought she was great, you know, but I just felt that again, which was part of what he originally said about the second part being rushed, you know, and there was all the speculation, like, you know, oh, is she gonna have the teeth, you know, the Melina, you know, Tarkatan kind of teeth, like, you know. And then obviously there was the reveal then in the fight with Cole Young in the second part, and then obviously this was after Sonya had killed Kano and gotten the mark, and you know, unlocked her arcana, which was the purple rings, the ring blasts. Then she blasted her, like, you know. It's real, like, you know, as soon as she revealed the teeth, she goes to attack Cole Young, and Cole Young is struggling, and then, you know, Sonya comes to save the day and blasts Melee, and I'm just like, it was a bit anticlimactic now. Um, yeah, I feel Melina should have deserved more respect than that. So I'm hoping, as I said, that they can come back. She can come back in the second part. Yeah, actually, yeah. There was another thing as well. Actually, yeah, I want to bring up. Everyone shitting all over the Cole Young character, like, you know, saying, "Oh, he lost to a crucifix in that MMA match at the start," and, you know, all of a sudden, you know, Goro has to, and I've actually seen this as well. People using wrestling terms. Goro had to put him over. I'm like, fucking hell, lads. It's a film. It's a fucking film. Enjoy it. Stop that. Give it a bleeding over. Like, there's just, life is too short to be nitpicking over stupid, silly things. Like, there's worse things happening in the world at the moment. Just fucking enjoy it, right? Just fucking enjoy it. I understand people have their opinions, but I mean, if it's a proper constructive criticism, I'll say fair enough. You know, and I'm sure the directors and cast and crew and everybody involved will take that on board and make this better. And obviously, Warner Brothers are going to see how successful and obviously are seeing how successful this film has been, and obviously put more money into it so they can have a bigger budget, so they can make a better movie all around for all the fans. Because I know I can't wait for part two, that's for sure. But yeah, there was a vital part of that, the piece of the puzzle where, you know, Cole Young beats Goro. He got his fucking Arcana, right? Which he didn't have in the cage, obviously, because he's just fighting a normal fight. He's not fighting against the intergalactic four-armed being from Outworld. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, setting that part is setting the fancy world, like, you know what I mean? So, you know, suspend your disbelief. You know, as a former wrestler, and obviously still a wrestling fan as well, you know, there's times where I can still kind of suspend my disbelief, even though in the back of my mind I know it's, you know, it's all pretend. And I don't want to say pretend. No, that's a dirty word. It's scripted. It's all scripted. You know, it's not fake. It's scripted. So are films, and people can get hurt on films too. Stuntmen can can get hurt on film. Like, you know, the only difference is between films and pro wrestling. Pro wrestlers only get one take. It's a one take deal. So yeah. So that ending there, the ending to it there, I like the ending, because obviously the biggest thing of all was the absence of one Johnny Cage, which was one of the original seven characters from Mortal Kombat 1, who was obviously based off Jean-Claude Van Damme, who I might add originally, before it actually became Mortal Kombat, the developers, you know, Ed Boon and John DePuy, were originally trying to make a game called Kumite with actually Jean-Claude Van Damme to star as himself, you know, kind of a take on kind of Bloodsport, but, you know, due to conflict and issues with Street Fighter the movie, absolute pile of shite that was. Yeah, I was just like, you know, where's Johnny Cage? Like, what's the story? So, and everybody was obviously up in arms, but again, they never failed with the fan service, because obviously, as we know, for those who've seen the film, obviously, because if you're listening to this by now and you haven't watched the film, you're a fucking idiot. I'm sorry, I'm putting it out there, right? If you're listening to this and you haven't watched the film, you know, it's your own fault. You're gonna have to deal with it. It's not my fault. I'm gonna put a big spoiler alert all over it, all the above. But yeah, I like the way they kind of did the little kind of nod Easter egg at the end, where Cole Young is, you know, is leaving the gym, and yeah, man, the fella that runs the gym, Fight Club, whatever it's called, says, so what are you gonna do now? You know, after he says he's, you know, finishing up fighting, and he goes, I'm gonna go to Hollywood. And he's like, why are you going to Hollywood? He goes, not why, who? And then he kind of taps him on the shoulder and walks out, and then it pans to a picture of a fella from the waist down with a belt on him. The belt buckle has Cage, and in one hand he has a pair of sunglasses. Obviously, the actor hasn't been cast yet, but you know, the speculation as to who. Some people are saying Ryan Reynolds, and I've even seen The Miz. He's trying to petition to get the role as well. The Miz. Listen, The Miz is a name. You know, the people know The Miz. The only thing The Miz doesn't have is obviously any sort of martial arts skills. But you know, he's an athlete. You can train him with the proper training. Get the proper fight team behind him. You know, get the lads Joe Taslim, Max Wang, or whatever, their kind of fight teams behind him. I'm telling you, because he'll pick it up, because he was able to pick up pro wrestling as well, because that's an art form in itself also, same as martial arts, which is also an art form as well. Especially, movie martial arts is also obviously quite different than actual fighting martial arts. So I feel The Miz would be good. Would be good at it as well, but also on the flip side of that, Ryan Reynolds also has some sort of movie fighting experience type martial arts as well. So it's in terms of, you want somebody who can be physical, who has the smart mouth, who's not afraid to talk on the microphone, or not afraid to talk and be an absolute smart arse, but a funny smart arse as well. Ryan Reynolds, The Miz, they can both do it. So I'm 50-50 with the both of them there. So I'm just going to leave that there, folks, right? So listen, I'm going to leave you, I'm going to love you, I'm going to say good night, God bless, God is love, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Podbean, and on all podcast platforms. Peace.